Hi, this is Melanie Burke, and this is Design Tips for Booyah Post, and we're on part 4 on making a collage. And I'm so excited to be talking about this. I think it's really important as we talk about making a pinnable post, as we talk about what images you should use together, how you should use it together. It can be very difficult and frustrating, but if you know a few simple rules, it can really make a big difference. So the first thing to know, we're going to jump into a few different examples and a few different options. The first option I'd like to say is kind of that basic simple grid, and sometimes this is just the nicest and the best way to go. So you can see here is an example of one that this is for a client, Small Fry. They have a great blog, but what they've done here is they have a lot of different images that are all really strong and working together, and it makes more sense to go ahead and just make it into a grid and use a little bit of white space or a little bit a thick white space. It just depends on the pictures to just line them up, and you can see that everything lines up exactly. You want to make it all perfectly in a grid so that it just fits together really well, and that just has a really nice cohesive feel. So that's one option. Another option is if you have a lot of images that sometimes there is white space and sometimes there's images that need to be cropped, to go ahead and crop all of them into circles that kind of bleed fully, but you can see there's a lot of different space behind here, and I've added a few vectors. But you can see that this works well when you have a variety of images that don't necessarily work together really strong in a grid, and so you need some way to add something to make them cohesive. Another option is when you're doing an artboard or a collage and you have some things that are on white images, so you can kind of just put them right on the white images. So you see here I have these furniture pieces that those look really nice with nothing around them. But what works really well is when you have an image right here, you can see this bleeds. And instead of just having it bleed into these images and having this awkward transition, I went ahead and made it circular and made it so it fits right into this. And you can see I did the same thing with this one, because what you really don't want to do, and I'll go ahead and show you, would look really bad, is if, for example, you had something like this. And even if it was small, you can see that it just looks awkward because it's just floating in this image. And I see this is, when I see a bad collage, a lot of times this is what's happening, is that they've tried to make something work cohesively, and you can see that it looks funny having this square image trying to work and it just floating there next to these other images. So instead, by having it, you can see with this clipping mask and with a circle around it, it all of a sudden feels cohesive because it feels like it's been planned to be part of the design, and this is another vector. So when you're working with images, make sure that you kind of look beforehand what you have. If you have them all on clean white, then you can do a whole board all with this artboard, and that works really well for rooms. But of course, if you have something that you need to do, you need to add, that is a full bleed picture, and you need to show all of it, the best thing is to kind of figure out some type of clipping mask and then add a little vector so that way it feels cohesive.